I opened my husband's drawer and found something I can't unsee. My name, printed on a receipt. Maybe I just forgot, I told myself. Until I found 5 more. All gifts. All recent. None for me, and the reality was, I wasn't even supposed to be in Ethan's office that afternoon. The dishwasher had been making this grinding noise for days, like something inside it was scraping metal against metal, and I finally got tired of pretending it would fix itself. Ethan always handled the appliance stuff, warranties, receipts, anything boring and practical. He kept all of it in one drawer in his office. He called it his system. I called it a mess he understood. I remember standing in the doorway for a second before going in, just looking at everything. His desk was exactly how he always left it. Laptop slightly open, a mug with dried coffee sitting too close to the edge, stacks of paper that looked chaotic, but were probably arranged in some way only he understood. Nothing felt off. Nothing warned me. That's the part that still gets to me. Everything looked normal right before it wasn't. I opened the drawer and started digging for the warranty booklet. Manuals, folded documents, old receipts, cables that probably didn't belong to anything we owned anymore. I almost closed it again when I spotted a stack of receipts tucked under a notebook. Not hidden, just placed there. I only picked them up because one of them slid loose when I moved the notebook. And that's when I saw my name, Chloe Brooks, printed clean across the top. I froze for a second, trying to place it in my memory. A gift, maybe? Something I forgot about? It happens sometimes. Ethan isn't big on grand gestures, but every now and then he'd surprise me with something small. I told myself that had to be it. I unfolded the receipt. It was from a jewelry store in Denver. A necklace. $170. I sat down on the floor right there in his office and tried to remember when he gave it to me. I couldn't. I tried anyway. I ran through birthdays, anniversaries, random weekends, even the quiet days where nothing special happened. I even wondered if maybe I'd put it somewhere and forgotten about it completely. But no. I knew my things. And I definitely would have remembered a necklace like that. So I looked at the date. 2 months ago. And I knew exactly where we were that week. We had dinner at home. Nothing special. No gift. No mention of anything. That's when something shifted. Not panic. Not even anger yet. Just confusion. So I opened the next one. And the next. Perfume. Shoes. A spa voucher. A boutique store I had pointed out once when we were walking downtown, joking that I'd probably spend too much money if I ever went inside. Ethan had laughed and said, yeah, let's avoid that place. Now I was holding a receipt from it. All of them had my name on them. Sometimes printed. Sometimes written in. Like it mattered. Like it needed to be there. I don't know how long I sat there going through them. The pile wasn't huge, but it wasn't small either. Enough to feel intentional. Enough to feel like a pattern. I kept thinking the same thing over and over. If he was cheating, why use my name? That didn't make sense. Cheating is messy. People hide things. They delete messages, they lie, they cover tracks. But this felt different. This felt like something organized. Like something that had been thought through. I checked the dates again, more carefully this time. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. One of the receipts was from my birthday week last year. And I remember that week clearly. Because Ethan forgot. Not completely. He texted me in the afternoon after his sister reminded him. We ordered takeout that night and watched a show neither of us was really paying attention to. It wasn't a big fight or anything. I told myself birthdays didn't matter that much. But there was no gift. No necklace. No spa voucher. Nothing. And yet there it was in my hand. A receipt with my name on it, dated that same week. I felt this weird pressure building in my chest, like something wasn't lining up and my brain was trying to force it to. So where did all this go? I didn't confront him. I didn't even consider it, not right away. I just sat there, surrounded by receipts that didn't belong to me, trying to come up with a version of reality where this made sense. Maybe he bought things and returned them. Maybe they were for someone else and he just wrote my name by mistake. Even as I thought it, I knew how ridiculous it sounded. I put everything back exactly how I found it. Folded the receipts the same way, slid them under the notebook, closed the drawer. I grabbed the warranty booklet like that was the only thing I had gone in there for. Then I walked out and started the dishwasher like nothing had happened. That night, I watched Ethan. Not obviously. I didn't stare or ask weird questions. I just paid attention in a way I hadn't before. He came home at the usual time, dropped his keys in the same spot, asked, "How was your day?" like he always did. He kissed me on the cheek, opened the fridge, complained about being hungry. Everything was normal. We ate dinner. We watched something on TV. At some point, he rested his hand on my leg like he always does, absent-minded, like it's just habit. And I sat there thinking, who else is he like this with? That question slipped in quietly and didn't leave. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the receipts again. My name. Over and over. The next morning, I told myself I was overreacting. I had no proof of anything. Just pieces that didn't make sense yet. But something in me had already shifted. Once you see something like that, you don't unsee it. You don't go back to not noticing. Over the next couple of days, I started noticing everything. How often he checked his phone. How quickly he flipped it over when a notification popped up. How sometimes he'd say he was working late, but come home just a little too relaxed, like his day hadn't actually been stressful. Little things. Things I probably ignored before. Now they felt loud. I didn't say anything. Not yet. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I had only found the surface of something much bigger. And I wasn't sure I was ready to see what was underneath. The receipts didn't leave my head. I tried to go back to normal for a couple days. Told myself I needed more than a weird stack of paper before I blew up my own life. But once something like that settles in your mind, it doesn't just sit quietly. It starts connecting things. And the first place it went was our bank account. We share everything. Always have. It's never been a point of tension between us. Bills get paid, savings grows slowly, occasional bigger purchases we talk about first. It's been steady. Predictable. So I opened the app one afternoon while Ethan was at work. I didn't even know what I was looking for at first. I just scrolled. Then I started matching dates. That necklace receipt? There it was. Same amount. Same day. The perfume? Same thing. The boutique store? Charged to our account like it was nothing. My stomach tightened, but I kept going. Because now I needed to know how far this went. And that's when I saw the hotel charges. At first, I thought maybe it was a mistake. A random booking, maybe a work thing he forgot to mention. But then I saw another one. And another. All mid-range hotels around Denver. Not luxury. Not cheap. The kind of places you'd pick if you wanted privacy without drawing attention. The dates lined up perfectly with nights he told me he was working late. Or out with Brandon. Long day, probably grabbing a drink with Brandon after, he'd say, already halfway out the door. I remember one night specifically. It had been raining, and I asked him if he wanted me to pick him up because I knew he hated driving in it. He laughed and said, I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. That date was there. A hotel charge. I stared at the screen for a long time, just letting it sink in. This wasn't a one-time thing. This wasn't even something recent. This was a pattern. A routine. And somehow, I had been living right in the middle of it without seeing it. I set my phone down and just sat there in the kitchen, staring at nothing. I kept trying to think of another explanation. Something that would make this less deliberate. But everything pointed in one direction. And I still didn't know who she was. That part started to bother me more than anything. Not just that he was cheating, but that there was someone else out there living a version of his life I didn't know existed. I started watching him more closely after that. Not in a dramatic way. I didn't follow him or question him constantly. I just paid attention. He started to feel different. Or maybe he always had been, and I just hadn't noticed. He smiled at his phone more than he used to. Sometimes he'd type quickly, then stop when I walked into the room. Once, I caught him reading something and actually laughing quietly to himself. When I asked what was funny, he said, just something Brandon sent. It didn't feel right. Everything about him still looked normal on the surface. Same routines. Same habits. Same way he talked to me. But now there was this second layer underneath it all. Like I was watching someone play a role I used to believe. About a week after I found the receipts, I crossed a line I had never crossed before. I checked his car. I told myself I had a reason. That I wasn't just being paranoid. That I deserved to know. Still felt wrong when I did it. His car was parked in the driveway like always. I waited until he left for work the next morning, then went outside with his spare key. The inside looked exactly how I expected. Gym bag in the back seat. A couple empty water bottles rolling around. Old receipts in the cup holder. Nothing out of place. For a second, I almost laughed at myself. Thought maybe I really had spiraled this into something bigger than it was. Then I opened the glove compartment. And everything changed again. There was a small gift bag tucked to the side. The kind you get from a boutique store. Simple, but deliberate. I pulled it out slowly. Inside was a perfume box. I recognized the brand immediately. It matched one of the receipts I had seen. My chest tightened. I opened it. The bottle was inside, barely used. Just a couple sprays gone. I didn't need to smell it to know it wasn't mine. But I did anyway. And yeah, it wasn't. I'm picky about scents. Always have been. I stick to one perfume, something light and clean. This was heavier. Warmer. Sweeter. It didn't belong to me. Which meant it belonged to someone else. My hands were shaking a little when I reached back into the bag. There was a card. Just a small folded card. I opened it. For you. I know you said you didn't need anything, but I wanted to anyway. No name. No signature. Just that. I read it twice, like maybe I missed something. I didn't. That's when it stopped feeling like confusion. This wasn't something I misunderstood. This wasn't a mistake. This was real. He had bought that for someone. Kept it in his car. Planned to give it to her. And somehow, my name was still tied into all of it. I sat there in the driver's seat for a long time, holding that stupid card, trying to process how my life had shifted this much without me noticing. I kept thinking about all the nights he said he was working late. All the small lies that seemed harmless at the time. All the times I didn't question anything because I trusted him. That trust felt embarrassing now. Like I had been the easiest person in the world to fool. I put everything back exactly how I found it. The perfume. The card. The bag. Closed the glove compartment. Locked the car. Walked back inside like nothing had happened. But something inside me had changed. Not just hurt. Not just anger. Something colder. More focused. Because now I wasn't guessing anymore. Now I knew. I just didn't know who she was yet. And for some reason, that felt like the most important piece left. I told myself I wouldn't rush this. That I needed to see it clearly. To understand everything before I said a word. But I didn't have to wait long. Because 3 days later, I saw him. And I saw her. And that was the moment everything finally made sense. I didn't plan to find out who she was that day. If anything, I was trying to act normal again. Trying to prove to myself I could still move through my life without letting this consume me. Piper had been asking me for weeks to check out this cafe downtown with her. She kept saying it had the best coffee in Denver, and I kept putting it off. So I said yes. It felt like a small decision at the time. Something simple. Something normal. We walked into Cedar and Elm around noon. It was busy, like it always is in those places. Warm lighting, people talking over each other, the smell of coffee and pastries filling the air. Piper was already pointing out things on the menu, talking about what she was going to order. I wasn't really listening. Because the second I stepped inside, something felt off. I didn't know why at first. It wasn't a thought. Just a feeling. Then I saw him. Ethan. Sitting at a corner table like he belonged there. And he wasn't alone. She was sitting across from him. I didn't know her name yet. I didn't know anything about her. But I knew immediately what I was looking at. The way she leaned forward when he spoke. The way he watched her, really watched her, like nothing else in the room mattered. I hadn't seen that look directed at me in a long time. I stopped walking. Piper bumped into me lightly. "What's wrong?" she asked, but I didn't answer. I couldn't. I just stood there, staring, trying to process how this was happening right in front of me. Then I noticed the bag on the table. Small. Boutique. Familiar. My stomach dropped. It was from the same store as one of the receipts. I watched his hand move, slow and casual, sliding the bag across the table toward her. Like it was nothing. Like it was normal. She smiled. Not surprised. Not confused. Like she expected it. Like this was something that happened between them. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't get a full breath in. Piper was still talking next to me, asking if I was okay, but her voice sounded distant, like it was coming from another room. I couldn't take my eyes off them. This was real. Not a suspicion. Not a theory. Real. I didn't walk over. I didn't confront him. I didn't throw anything or make a scene. I just turned around. "I don't feel good," I told Piper, my voice steady in a way I didn't recognize. "I think I need to go home." She looked confused, but she didn't push. She offered to come with me. I told her no. I left. I don't even remember the drive home. I just remember sitting on the couch afterward, staring at nothing, replaying that moment over and over again. The way he looked at her. The way she smiled. The way he gave her something that had my name attached to it. And that's when it finally clicked. Not all at once. Slow. Heavy. Unavoidable. He wasn't using my name for her. He was using it for himself. Every receipt. Every purchase. Every transaction tied to me so that if I ever saw it, if I ever questioned it, he'd have an answer ready. "Oh, that? That was for you." Except it never was. I wasn't part of any of it. I was just the explanation. And somehow, that hurt more than the cheating itself. Because it meant he had thought about this. Planned it. Built a version of reality where I existed just enough to cover for what he was doing behind my back. I sat there for hours letting that settle in. Letting it turn into something solid. Something I could act on. Because I wasn't guessing anymore. I had seen it. And I knew exactly what I needed to do next. I didn't confront him that night. Or the next. I waited. I went back into his office when he wasn't home and took everything. Every receipt. Every piece of paper that had my name on it. I took pictures of all of it too, just in case. I downloaded our bank statements. Organized them by date. Matched every charge I could find. I needed it to be clear. Not just for him. For me. Because part of me still couldn't believe I had lived next to this for a year without seeing it. Once I had everything, I stopped looking. I didn't need more. I had enough. A week later, I asked him to sit down with me. We were in the living room. Same place we watched TV every night. Same couch. Same space that used to feel safe. He looked at me like something was off. Like he could feel the shift before I even said anything. "What's going on?" he asked. I didn't answer right away. I just set everything on the table in front of him. The receipts. The printed statements. The dates. I watched his face as he realized what he was looking at. The color drained almost instantly. No confusion. No denial. Just recognition. I leaned back slightly, keeping my voice calm. Do you want to tell me who she is? For a second, he didn't say anything. Then he exhaled slowly, like he had been holding his breath for a long time. It's not what you think, he said. And I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was predictable. It looks exactly like what I think, I said. So go ahead. Try. He ran a hand through his hair, looking anywhere but at me. It just happened, he said. I didn't plan for it to get like this. I let that sit there for a second. Then I asked the only thing that mattered. How long? He hesitated. That told me everything before he even answered. Almost a year. A year. I nodded slowly, like I needed to physically acknowledge it to make it real. And her name? Jade. Of course it wasn't mine. I held up one of the receipts. Then why is my name on everything? That's when he actually struggled. Not with guilt. With the answer. He looked at the receipt, then back at me. I didn't think you'd ever see them. That was it. That was the explanation. Not even an apology attached to it. Just a calculation that failed. I stared at him for a long time after that. And something in me just settled. Not in a good way. In a final way. There was nothing left to figure out. No missing piece. No explanation that would change anything. Just the truth. And it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was quiet. Cold. Clear. I'm leaving, I said. He looked up quickly. Chloe. I'm leaving, I repeated. Not tonight. But soon. He started talking then. Saying things I barely heard. That he'd end it. That it didn't mean anything. That he made a mistake. A year-long mistake. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just let him talk. Because none of it mattered anymore. A few weeks later, I packed a bag and left. I've been staying with Nina since then. Her apartment is small, but it feels honest. There's no second layer to anything there. No hidden version of reality I have to question. Ethan still texts me. Not every day, but enough. Saying he's sorry. That he ended things with her. That he wants to fix this. And I hate that part of me doesn't immediately shut it down. Because I know what he did. I know how long it went on. I know he used my name like I was some kind of shield. And still, there's this small part of me that keeps wondering how I didn't see it. How I lived next to someone for that long and missed something that big. And I don't know what that says about me. Or if it even matters. What I do know is that I'm not the same person who opened that drawer. And I don't think I can go back to being her. But I also don't know if walking away is the only ending here. So I guess that's where I am now. Sitting in something that doesn't feel finished yet. Trying to figure out if some things are just broken, or if they only look that way when you finally see them clearly.